the PHNX Coyotes Show, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Download today using code PHNX and place a $1 football bet and get $150 in free bets. It's just that easy. It's episode 13.
Lucky 13.
Kind of scary.
I know.
There have been some good 13s in this town, though. Steve Nash, Ray Whitney.
What did Domi wear? Domi wears 16.
What's Kurt Order's number? Why am I blanking on this? This is horrible. I covered the guy.
Shane, do you know?
Bad sign. Bad sign. Yeah.
Take 2.
Was it 13?
See,
Oh,
there you go.
look at that. Nailed it.
Good town for 13s.
Yeah. Well, the NHL, the Coyotes play their opening game 3 weeks from today.
And the preseason game is tonight.
And there's a preseason game
starts
tonight. There's hockey. There's NHL hockey happening today.
I know.
How does everyone feel?
This is a hard time of year. It's hard for fans to get into it. The sun's still shining. The weather's warm. Football's all over the TV, and think we got to go to the rink and start watching hockey. It's hard to make that transition, but
it's hard for writers too, buddy.
Oh, buddy.
Preseason.
work. Hey, Craig.
No, not so much that. It's preseason.
It's hard, and it's from a coaching perspective, a player and a fan, you always want your team to win. That's why you root for your team. You want them to win, and you go to a preseason game and you go, it doesn't really matter. And you want to, you still root for your team, and tomorrow we'll still be talking about, hey, they won. It doesn't matter. Like, what matters tonight is how individual players play, perform, compete, what the coaches see and expect out of those players, and can they fit into an NHL team, NHL locker room, and be on the ice with other NHL players. Some of the guys we talked about last week at the rookie tournament. That's what they're looking at. And even the coaches will say, oh, this doesn't matter if we win or lose. But they'll be the ones talking about winning or losing after also. So it's really hard to separate the performance and the analytics and, looking at different players from the winning and losing. I think this group will be fine separating it. But
I mean, yeah, what you say, I mean, they're wired to compete. They're wired to want to win no matter the situation. That's why they're at this level, because they've been, they've played at that level of competition for so long, and they've learned to play to win. But Andre Tourigny was saying it yesterday when we talked to him after their last practice. At some point, you can practice all you want, and they haven't practiced that much, by the way, although the rookies have had more. At some point, you have to take the exam. You have to find out what you've got. So he understands that this is not the team that we're going to see for the season opener. They're not going to play as well as he hopes they play in the season opener, and there are a lot of things that you take into account. The lack of time implementing the systems, the lack of familiarity with each other. There's so many new faces on this roster and on this coaching staff. So all that taken into account, you still want to see what you've got. So here we are, game 1 of the preseason against the beloved LA Kings.
Yeah,
our
at
favorite,
Gila River
our
Arena.
favorite
Maybe there'll be an
opponents.
injury.
And
like
always
there
beat
is against
LA.
the Kings.
Oh, God.
There may be a fight too. Like, don't be surprised.
In a preseason game?
Imama's coming from the LA King organization, and he knows, like it or not, that's still a part of this game. Fighting and playing physical, and you talk about Tom Wilson and Ryan Reeves. That's the role Imama plays, and if he wants to get a sniff in the NHL, that's going to have to be an element to what he brings. Is he in the lineup tonight? I don't know. I would expect he might be, because it is the LA Kings. That's the other part. We're kind of handicapped this morning. We don't know who's going to play tonight. We talked about Ben McCartney a lot last week and how he had a chance to shine in the rookie tournament. Does he get an opportunity tonight against NHL players and see if he can keep up? Can he keep up physically? We just don't know if he's in the lineup.
My question actually is, how are the rosters determined? There's 6 preseason games between now and opening night, and obviously there's too many players to have everyone play every game. So how are the rosters kind of determined?
Yeah, we talked to Andre about that yesterday, what their goal is, and this is pretty standard. Petey, you can speak to this, but this is pretty standard across the NHL. Your veterans aren't going to play all the games, but what he said is most of them will play 4 games, some of them will play less, depending on what they feel they need to see from the veterans. There are some guys where they already know their role, everything about they need to know about them. It's just more of like a tune-up. So some of those guys may play 3 games. So you start there by figuring out where all your veterans sit on the roster for those various games, and then you fill the holes with the other guys. They do want to give some of those rookies that impressed in development camp or at the rookie face-off tournament a chance to get into the lineup as well. So that's how it'll shake out. And then with the goaltending, we'll see. I mean, he did say that the starter's going to go 2 periods tonight and the backup will play 1 period. You don't want to throw a goaltender into a 3-period situation right away. You want to sort of work them in slowly.
And I think what's different about this season too is you don't have those veteran returners to the Coyote lineup. If Oliver Ekman-Larsson was here, if he played at all, his minutes would be limited. And you look at Shane Doan, the bobblehead on the table. When Shane played, this is the game he wouldn't want to play in. He wouldn't.
It's a lawn gnome, by the way.
Oh, it is. What did I say? Bobblehead? Sorry.
It's okay. Use
terminology.
So he would remember the Doan lawn gnomes when they gave him out. No.
Incredible. Yeah, of course. It's right there. You can see it. Wait, you're on TV. But he would be a guy that wanted to play the last 2 or 3 to ramp his game up. Same with Mike Smith. He wanted, I don't need to play tonight. I want to see more practice. I want to get more game speed and practice. I'll play those later games. So when you get that kind of status, that veteran status, you can kind of help where you play. Now, if you come in as a veteran and you're out of shape, overweight, you don't pass all the physical and conditioning tests, you're going to play tonight. And you might play on Wednesday, and you might play on Saturday. It's not a punishment. We got to get you up to game shape. So that is something that dictates it also. But you hit on the head with those young guys. Who are we looking at? If we're looking at player A versus player B, they better play a lot to give them a fair shake at comparing their skill sets so we can make the right determination on who makes the roster. So those are the guys, when you see a guy playing 4, 5, and 6 games, like Barrett Hayton when he first came into the league, you want to see, can he keep up, or are we going to send him back to junior? Right. So I think you might see that with some of these younger guys. But the veteran guys fall into that category this year. Like, is Andrew Ladd ready to play? Is Louis Eriksson ready to play? They have such a small sample set of gameplay over the last few years. I'm not surprised if they don't get a little bigger piece of the apple here over the next few games.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say there's 2 things. One, we mentioned that it's a new coaching staff, so it's all new systems in place. Has there been enough time, do you think, for the players to learn this system? I get that's why you do play preseason games, but, you mentioned that Coach Tierney said, we kind of just need to be thrown in that situation to see. Do the players feel the same way, or do you think as a player you wish you had more practice?
I'll take the second part. You can talk about the systems. For players, I think every player would rather play a game than take part in another training camp practice.
Yeah,
so,
for sure you want to play.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's why you're here, to compete anyway. It's a heck of a lot more fun. And then when you're talking about practices, it's a lot of drudgery to have to go through that day after day after day, and they are doing it every day. But as far as the systems,
well, that's what this game is for. You need to, the way coaches coach these systems. They show it on video, they walk it through on the ice, and then they'll get gameplay of that system and review that film to help teach. And that cycle goes like that the entire season. They'll be watching system video on games 71 through 80. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? So you're always fine-tuning it. They just need a sample set of these players playing that system, whatever that system may be. And, is it a neutral zone 1-2-2? Well, we need video of our players, Andrew Ladd, Louis Eriksson, we need Fish, we need Chick, we need everybody playing that system. So tomorrow we can go into the film room and go, okay, here's you guys doing it. Here's the way we want to do it. So whether we do it right or wrong, we're still going to teach from that video. That's why these games are critically important on teaching those systems. But what you'll also see is one of the areas they haven't, I know they spent some time on the power play in practice this week, but 2 areas that are most difficult to teach in training camp are power play and penalty kill, because it's hard to do live reps in practice against yourself. So they need that competitive, our power play against the Kings penalty kill. I would think that their power play and their penalty kill will be very rudimentary tonight. It's going to be very simple patterns, because it won't be their complete roster. So you're picking and pulling guys from different areas. That would be the area of the game that I would think will probably be a little scrambly. Rookie tournament, almost all of it was scrambly.
Yeah.
I would think tonight the special teams are the area you work on the least with the players that you put into the lineup.
I was actually surprised to see them working on it a little bit in camp the other day, because I think Rick Tocchet liked to roll those out a little later in camp, but there's a lot to absorb here. We're actually, of course, going to have assistant coach Mario Duhamel on the show a little later today. He's going to be in charge of the penalty killing unit, so we can talk to him a little bit about what we might expect to see down the road. But another aspect of camp, of course, is the position battles, right? Something that we're going to be looking at a lot. So, I got a couple things I think cleared up yesterday. Andre made it clear that Jay Beagle is going to be at center. that solves a lot of, it answers a lot of our questions about the center depth, because you've got Nick Schmaltz, you've got Johan Larsson, you've got Jay Beagle now. So, who's that fourth center now is, I guess, the biggest question for that position. Is it going to be Travis Boyd filling that number 4 slot? Can Barrett Hayton actually come up and take a spot? Or is it a guy like Ryan Dzingel who brings a lot of speed to the ice? That's one of the things to watch. We can talk about
Yeah, and having that center depth, we questioned a week ago who were going to be the 4 centers of this team. Did they even have 4 centers? And I think now, by making that change, making Jay Beagle, you're a centerman. You're going to be a centerman on this team. That does bring some clarity. But now you talked about the 3 other players that can fill that role: Boyd, Dzingel, and Barrett Hayton. 3 very different players with very different styles and bring very different things that slot differently in a lineup. Boyd, I've seen more of a 4 hole, but Barrett Hayton can play a 2 or 3. So, again, we talked about battles. Center ice, there's a battle. And I think we've spent so much time talking about Barrett Hayton starting this season in Tucson. We may look at this 6 games from now. Barrett Hayton might have 4 or 5 goals, and you go, how do they not put him on the lineup?
Yeah.
And I know that in his head, that's what he's thinking. People, we're going to bake you. Hey, I led the preseason in scoring. I took all the draws. I had a 52% in the circle. Then you're going to have to take a second look at it. So I think that's one area that you're going to see the battle for sure. The other one to me is the defense role, and who's that 6'7"? Like, where does that fit? Lyubushkin, I think, with his body of work and his experience, he's 6. Like, he makes the top 6.
Yes, we've got Jacob Chychrun, and by the way, yesterday Andre told me that Anton Strawman's probably going to be his defense pair. We guessed that he's the right profile, at least. Again, you have to see if it actually works out once they work together, but it makes sense. Right-handed, savvy defenseman who can protect him. And then you're looking at a second pair of Shane Gostisbehere and Connor Timmins, as you said, Lyubushkin. So it's, go ahead.
Yeah, we talked about Provanev a lot in the rookie tournament, and I'm going to have to look at Kolichonik and
just, cover your mouth when you say
Kolichonik. I know. Where's Billy Smith when you need him? But these
better than I could have done, I'll tell you.
But
that.
These 2 players, very different styles, very different players. I believe one of them has to make the team. I think they do. They're going to have 7 guys on the ice. They need to have 7 defensemen going out of camp. So that's another battle. Very, very different players. Kolichonik, more offensive, jumps up in the play, a little more risk-reward kind of guy. Where Provanev, he's going to play physical. Like he's a bigger body that can hit, and he can hit in open ice, and he can bury you in the corner. So different styles. So it's hard to compare them. But I still think that's another battle that one of those 2 has to make this team.
Yeah, and then backup goalie. I don't have a feel for that.
Starting goalie. I mean, he said, but right as he said, it's his job right now.
No, he is not. He's basically said it's very early. We're still sorting all that out.
Right.
So Carter Hutton is the presumed number 1 right now. But again, and this is the week to start watching for it. Let's see what comes off the waiver wire. So let's see what players are available, and that may alter the face of this Coyotes roster a little bit more.
I think by the end of the week, you're going to see teams making cuts.
Yes.
Because clearly in the next 7 to 8, 9 days, teams are going to have to start preparing for their American League camps. They'll start paring down. Guys are going to start being available. Is there a last-minute waiver wire pick for the Coyotes in goal? I still think there may be. I don't know if they're comfortable enough going in with the group they've got. And we've talked about baking again. Is Prosvetov, to me, at his age and where he was at last year with the American League, he is the guy they're looking for down the road. You got to play. Yeah. You got to play games. And you can't play games if you're sitting on a bench. So I think he ends up down there. But again, that's why you play the games.
Yeah.
What's another face to add, right? From the waiver wire. It's so interesting you talking about, there's veteran players, you kind of know their role. There's so many new faces on this team, and we've talked about it. Can we pull up the new faces? Yeah.
Look at that.
See, look how good he is.
Feel free to get out a pen or a telestrator, whatever you have at home, and match the face to the name. Good luck. I'm not even sure I can do it still, and I've been around camp for a few days.
Yeah, I know I couldn't. I was watching some video on their website yesterday of guys in the gym, and man, there are so many new
even
faces.
On Instagram, they'll be like, oh, there's 23 games, and then they show up, and I'm like, who's that? And I'm clicking, and I'm not usually like that. Normally, I'm so on. I recognize people on the street, but my gosh.
And the other thing is, we spent an entire season up in the press box talking to these guys on Zoom we had masks on. They didn't, but it's harder when you're looking at a screen and you're not around these guys. And then we had all these widespread changes. It's insane.
And I think one of the things, we'll plug PHNX here, that's one of the things hopefully we can help bridge that gap between the new player, and the Coyote fan. You got to see a little bit of Christian Fischer and his personality and who he was. Hopefully we can get some of these new guys in here, because I'm not kidding. Louis Erickson, I know he's been in the league for a very long time, but there's guys I have no idea who they are with their helmets off.
Right.
And let's help our fans get to know these guys.
And we're going to have Mario Duhamel on the show today to introduce a new assistant coach.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear his perspective of things.
My wife's just excited to hear his accent.
Yeah, well,
I was transcribing an interview with Antoine Roussel, and she just stopped her work to listen to his voice.
Seriously?
Yes.
My wife was like that with Antoine Vermette. Same thing.
A lot of people were like that with Antoine Vermette.
Antoine.
I got more than a few requests that I won't repeat on air.
Yeah, I know.
I have no part in any of this. Sorry.
But that's the other thing. A lot of these teams, when you look at this preseason, they are spending most of their time looking at the rookies. Minnesota played St. Louis yesterday. You had even James Neal, he's a tryout contract. Got to take a look at him. He lit it up, gets a hat trick. But Minnesota's looking at their young guys. They're not looking at their veteran players right now. And I think because of so many new faces, everybody's going to have to get looked at in this camp. And even Chychrun, not that he's going to make the team or not, or how many minutes he's going to get. It's how does he fit with a partner? That's going to be a key over the next 6 games. Can they get that fit?
I wanted to ask you that. In light of what Andre told me with Strawman likely being his partner, why do you separate those guys in groups? Why not give them a look in the same group?
I can't speak for what the coaching staff's doing there. I'm surprised a little bit, especially when we had those two on paper together right away, and clearly the coach now does too. Mm-hmm. I would think the more they can play together in this shortened training camp, the better. Yeah. I'm sure he had his reasons as you look at the roster why groups are set up the way they are set up. And honestly, it could be everything to when does this group work out? I want these guys on the ice early. All of those things could have part of his decision, or how he did power play. If he's going to power play practice, make sure you have the power play guys on one group. I would think going forward, you'll see those two playing a lot.
Yeah, and we're close to that time anyway.
And we've said this, Craig, just because it looks good on paper, and they've been thinking about it for months, by October 15th, they might not be together.
I have another logistical question related to a preseason game. Obviously, when you're playing an NHL game, it's like you're scouting the opponent. You're really like focusing on that sort of thing. And, from all we've talked about, it sounds like a preseason game is for you to evaluate your own team. How much preparation is there in terms of like scouting LA, especially? I mean, you said they haven't even submitted their roster yet. So like, how do you even prepare for an opponent, or are you actually not really, and you're kind of just more preparing for yourself?
This guy's expertise.
Yeah, the truth is, preseason game 1, 0 time is going to be sent on the LA Kings. 0. Like, they won't look at any LA Kings film because they have no idea, and honestly, they don't care. Like, they don't care what their systems they're running. It's literally all about us. You'll hear that a lot. This is about the Coyotes and how they perform. But by preseason game 6, you will start to see some pre-scout meetings of the opponent. Not so much so you're scouting the opponent. It's to get in the habit and the practice of scouting that opponent. So your video meetings will have scouting elements to it. You'll have spent some of the day looking at the opponent's penalty kill and how they'll perform against your power play. So some of that will happen by the end of camp, more to get in the routine of actually going through the procedure of it than actually being concerned about it. The most difficult game of the year to scout for a video coach and the coaching staff is game 1, because you really have nothing to go by. You try to go by the preseason games, but those rosters have been, taken from a bingo ball machine. So you don't know who they're going to be, right? So they don't have their full roster together. They might have injuries. Like Phil Kessel probably won't play in training camp.
Don't talk about bingo balls with Coyotes fans. It's a sensitive
subject.
subject.
True.
Oh, that's right.
Or maybe one day it will be.
I know. Maybe
a very happy
year.
subject.
Maybe.
Speaking,
you should just start manifesting now.
The ping pong balls. We should get ping pong balls in here.
First, we'll do a clearing.
I'll bring in my crystals.
We need to have a ping pong ball in the studio.
Yes, I have crystals. Don't shake your head at me.
Do you speak to your crystal? Is that part of it? Do you actually wish things into the crystal, and I don't know how this works. We need to work on all of this. Okay,
Craig,
sorry,
good.
Petey.
I agree, though. Good
No-
things out bring good things in.
Nothing at this
I
point
agree.
can
Energy,
hurt
right?
the
Positive energy.
Coyotes' luck more than it already has
In
been
the lottery,
hurt.
no way.
Exactly.
Yeah, seriously.
So, thank
right.
you.
Yeah, that is Shane knocking on wood.
I wanted to ask you something about. I generally don't read much into anything I see in terms of line combinations or pairs this early because this is day 5 of camp. But heading into preseason game number 1, like I noticed some things yesterday. Barrett Hayton, for instance, which line mates he had. Do you put anything behind this? Like, I'll give you some examples. He was between Keller. I'm blanking on who his other wing was.
Kraus.
Yeah, Lawson Kraus. I wrote it in the story, and now I can't remember it. But
Read your
Petey
story.
read the
Scary,
story.
right?
Look
Wrote
at
it.
that.
I actually wrote it and
Yeah.
forgot it. Okay.
But
Nick Schmaltz was with Louis Erickson. Jay Beagle was with Dmitry Ashkin. Do you make anything of
you
that?
do, because
Yeah.
what you want to do, especially the guys that you're looking at comparing,
Yeah.
you want to make sure you give a Barrett Hayton. If he's somebody you're clearly looking at,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure you're surrounding him with skilled, good players to give him the best opportunity to show what he can do. And so I think you're going to see those line matchups are extremely important on who they're pairing you with. Now, in the case of Schmaltz, and it was at Louis Erickson, you now you're seeing if there's some chemistry from guys that are going to make the team. Do they have anything? And that, you could see a pair, and we talk a lot about pairs versus a whole line trios.
Yeah.
You look at does a pair click? Do they work well together? These two players, like Schmaltz and Keller, we saw a lot of that
Mhm.
at glimpses last year. It was a pair, and you'd switch the different winger. And you hope that you get that 3-line chemistry. But you always look for pairs because people get hurt. People are in the penalty box. You're jumbling lines all the time. And as long as that pair is solid, so maybe that's what they're looking at with Schmaltz and Louis Erickson. Is there any chemistry at all? And I think with Louis, it's a skilled player, and we've talked about the waning years of his career, but they're seeing if they can jumpstart it again. Can we rejuvenate it with a skilled centerman like a Nick Schmaltz? Can he get him the puck? So I think, even though it is preseason game 1, there is something to read into it. Having said that, players are worse than all of us and fans and analysts when any kind of a list goes up inside the room. Whether it's what time we get on the bus, here's the players getting on the bus.
Right.
Why is that guy's name above mine? Well, it's got nothing to do with anything, but his name's in blue, mine's in red. Honestly, Rick Tockett's pen at the time might have been writing blue, run out, and he grabbed a green pen. But when you're in it, there's so much dependent on your livelihood, your career, that they read everything into everything. They'll pull me aside. Hey, Petey, I was listed there. Deep breath means absolutely nothing. So we really tried it as a coaching staff. Everything was either numerical or alphabetic as best as we could. And if it did have something to do with experience or a veteran, we went to Hockey DB and we'd list players by number of games played. Why is the list like that? Games played. And then there was no argument.
So interesting.
Yeah.
It's just
to
like,
hear.
but isn't that a kid? Like, that's what you do. Well, why is my name in capitals and his isn't? Or it is. It's guys are.
That's great.
It's that insecurities that you can't believe they're in a professional athlete. They exist for them too.
All right, let me ask you another deep in the weeds question.
Oh no!
Like talking about that one threesome that I noticed that like, okay, maybe these guys could actually play together if Barrett makes the team. Barrett's a right-handed center. Kels is playing the off wing, so right wing, left shot.
Side.
Lawson's a left shot on the left side. It's easier for Barrett to get the puck to Lawson. Does it create any issues for Clayton playing the off wing with a right-handed center?
No, because you watch how Clayton plays the game. He likes coming off that off wing because the way he opens up on the top of the circle to get his shot. Clayton's going to get the puck. Yeah, I'm not worried about Clayton getting the puck with a right-handed versus a left-handed centerman. And that the skill level of these guys, they can make a backhand pass. And just because you start off on the center ice dot and you're on the right-hand side, by the time the puck gets dumped into the other end of the ice, you're somewhere else anyway. So I don't read too much into that. You look at the hand of the centerman is most important when you're taking that face-off in your defensive zone. Where's he winning the puck to? So that's the rest of it. Once you start playing, guys are everywhere. And I think Clayton, I like some guys coming off their off wing because they seem to be able to walk into the middle of the ice better and get that better shot from the inside. And we've talked about Clayton's ability to get to the inside. Maybe this will encourage him to take that path to the inside instead of trying to beat people wide.
Another thing, we know we don't have the roster yet. Did the players who are playing tonight know they're playing? And if so, are they treating this like, do they treat preseason games like, the pregame nap, the pregame meal, like the whole routine? You talked about players overthinking things. I know NHL players are renowned for having their routines and their superstitions. So does that mean everybody is doing their pregame routine?
Yeah, they would have known last night. They
Okay,
would have known
so-
after the skate yesterday. They would have posted a roster for today's game.
They did.
Okay.
And you could have even seen it at the morning skate today. You never know. The reason I like there's a morning skate with the players that are expected to play tonight, but you never know if there are going to be any last minute changes or tweaks to the roster. So
everyone's kind of
yeah,
treating
they
it
have a sense. They have a sense that they're going to play, but there could be a couple tweaks where the roster changes a player or two going into the game tonight.
And would they treat a preseason game like
You'd hope so.
Again, it goes back to who you are and what you need to prepare. I think as a staff, meaning from the head coach all the way down to the equipment staff and medical staff, they're treating this like a regular game. They need to get in those routines. They need to have those habits, because you can't just go from 0 miles an hour to 110. So they'll use it like a real game. Some players, the more experienced guys, they don't need as much prep time. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
They'll still go the same routines. We'll still have, they'll look at a morning skate, a morning meeting, a team meal. Following that, there'll be a space for a nap if they choose to take it, which is literally right now. They'll follow the same routines, but how they prep for it, I think, is really going to be based on what that individual player needs. The younger guys are absolutely taking this like a regular season game. When those young kids going from rookie tournament to this is a big deal. It wouldn't be a big deal for a guy that's playing his 1,000th game. If Phil, I know he's not playing, but as an example, if he were in the lineup, his emotional state versus a Ben McCartney's emotional state going into this game are much, much different.
I meant to ask you this, like with one of those rookies, do you ever have a situation where, look, all these guys are used to competing, they're used to playing in games, but do you ever have a situation where a rookie was going into his first preseason NHL game and was just too amped up, too nervous, where you had to whoa.
And it happens more often than you think. But I can't think of any specific examples, nor would I want to point a guy out. But what you do is you just keep throwing him on the ice. You'll double shift him. You'll throw him every other. Just keep playing. Get on the ice. Get more touches, and just say, hey, it's just hockey. It's 200 by 85. It's the same sheet of ice. Take a deep breath. You're going to put that kid out all the time. Get as much ice as you possibly can, because once they do, you get through that first warm up and your first and your second and your third shift, you go, okay, I'm okay. So I think it happens in almost every young guy that's never been in that situation. Even the good players, even a Keller or a Chikrin, you still get that nervous anxiety because you need to perform. So you get them out there, get those reps in and get them playing.
It's like first day of school vibes. It's just like you just want to
Yeah.
get the day over with, sort of thing. Well, we can talk more about preseason with assistant coach Mario Duhamel, who is joining us in just a moment. But before we get to that, I just want to remind everybody that our show is always brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. If you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the promo code PHNX, you'll receive $150 in free bets instantly when you place a $1 bet on any football game. And right now there's a thing on DraftKings where if you do a same game parlay and your bet doesn't hit, you'll be credited up to $25, which I'm sure our producer Shane used yesterday because he had a really rough day on DraftKings.
Mine are already gone.
Oh, well, he already used it up, but be sure to watch Shane on PHNX Bets for but anyway, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, and you can deposit and withdraw your money whenever you want. So that's the code PHNX to receive your $150 in free bets and do those same game parlays. 21 and over, Arizona only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. All right, there he is.
Mario,
how are you?
Uh-oh.
Good yourself.
Oh.
Doing well here. Thank you for joining us. It's actually nice to be able to introduce you to the Coyotes fan base here. Obviously, you haven't been here that long, so let's start there. Actually, I'm just curious how you're adjusting to everything so far here in the Valley. The weather appears to have taken a turn for the good.
That's right. It was pretty odd when we came in the first time, right? In end of July and in August, been really hot, but can't complain. When you come from the north, you see a lot of days where it's cold, so you can't complain when it's too hot. I can tell you that. But now the family's been the family's been adjusting very well. My 3 kids are in school and they're doing well. They have some friends. Everything's rolling. My wife is happy. So, like we say, if the family, I won't say my wife, but if the family's happy, we're happy.
Yeah, because for you, you're going into the rink every day, whether it's in Quebec or it's Arizona. Your day is pretty much the same. It's all about your family, right? I understand you have a pretty good hockey playing son that's already all settled in and playing up at the ice then.
I don't know if he's that good, but he's a good player. He's passionate about hockey, and he's doing a lot of other sports as well. But yeah, he's doing pretty well so far. He's enjoying it, and I can't tell you that, guys. He get used pretty quickly to fly in, fly out, to that big lifestyle of taking the plane to play in order to play hockey, which back in Quebec and Ontario, we're not used to that. So my wife told me that he was getting used to it pretty quickly. So, which is, I don't know if it's a good news or a bad news.
We'll check back in on that one. Mario, I want to talk to you. You obviously have a very long-standing relationship with Andre, and you and I and Andre actually all talked about that initial meeting at a restaurant, South Shore, Montreal. Can you take us back to that initial meeting when it looked like Andre was actually thinking about hiring someone else, but this 2+ hour meeting convinced him that he had to hire the guy right across the table from him?
Yeah, that was an interesting meeting. That was a fun meeting, to be honest with you. And it's somebody that we had in common that allowed us to meet. And because I was coaching midget AAA back then, and in South Shore, Montreal, and one of their scouts in Rouen was working at the same school that I was coaching. So yeah, he just asked me if I was interested to go higher in my career, and I said yes. So he put me in contact with Andre, and like you said, we had a great meeting that day. Over 2 hours of great chat, talking hockey, talking about life, talking about philosophy. So I thought it went pretty smooth, or really smooth actually. And that was a fun meeting where we talked, like I said, about many things, but it seems that we were on the same page. And I think he liked my philosophy, my background there, where it was a little bit different in his, in a way that the way we're doing things in our team was a little bit different, but still with the same philosophy, but different approach. So I think that was the key there to connect and bond together.
Who chose the restaurant?
He did. He did. He always do.
Okay. So was
No,
well,
that's a
I guess we
joke.
could ask you this. I don't want to get you in trouble, but was the meal good?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. In the province of Quebec, we have a restaurant called Saint Hubert. So it's Saint Hubert. It's a chicken roastery, and it's really, obviously, we all love it, and so it was a kind of a common sense to go there, and so yeah, no, he picked the restaurant because we didn't know each other back then, but now I can tell you that it's pretty much 50-50 now on who's picking the meals and who's picking the restaurant.
As long as he's paying, that's all that really matters, right? Uh,
Uh,
so
I think he paid. I think he paid. If I, to be honest with you, that's back in '05, but I'm pretty sure that he paid. But now I want to chip in here and there. That's for sure.
well, you look at how well you two know each other, and your backgrounds are the same. You've become very comfortable with each other. But what's it like now, interjecting the two of you into the Coyotes coaching room that has 3 coaches that have been here with a different head coach, different players, and how has that relationship been able to build over really just a few weeks?
Yeah, that was a question for the other 3, but I think we're mingling pretty well. To be honest with you, we, as you know, Bear, and you learned me, but we're pretty upbeat guys, and we love life first of all. You know what I mean? So we're really passionate about what we're doing, and these guys like Howie, Stiller, and Schwabi, they love to be around the game too. So we get along very well. To be honest with you, we developed day after day. We develop our relationship with the on the ice and off the ice. The last 5 days been outstanding for that, in order to be able to go on the ice and learn to work together. But the chemistry is really good. And to be honest with you, I'm really looking forward to this season because there's a lot of good knowledge, and we're high high pace, high tempo. It's fun. It's fun to be around.
Mario, you had other opportunities to be a head coach in the Q. What led you to join Andre in this move to Arizona?
I'm just gonna first, and I know that was you guys wrote in the queue, but I was more in the OHL. We were in the OHL, and I couldn't stay back in Ottawa there with the OHL, which is not a big deal, the Q or the O, but is the CHL at the end of the day. But just wanted to give you a little heads up there. But yeah, it, it was. I had two good scenarios on the table, to be honest with you, and at the end of the day, first it was important for my family to be at ease with the situation. You know what I mean? Obviously, when you think about hockey, there was no hesitation, and we were ready as a family to move. But when you have to cross the bridge, now it's okay. We have to take a decision here for our kids, our family for the next years in front of us. So it was a big decision, but it was an easy one. As soon as that the family was on board. For me, it was just normal to follow Bear here because for the loyalty, you know what I mean. It's we've been friends since '05. He been there for me. I've been there for him, and since day one that he got interviewed with the youth, sorry, he kept me in the loop and told me that he wanted me on board. So for me, that was really something that meant a lot for me. So that he wanted me again on board. So, and right from the get go. So for me, again, like I said, it was more about being loyal to him, like he'd been loyal to me. So, and I was asking myself if I want to be assistant coach again in the NHL, who I wanted to be with, and the answer was Bear. So 1+1 makes 2. So, and Arizona is not a bad spot, like you guys mentioned earlier. So, it would have been a good experience for my kids as well to live in an English environment where I had to dig and grind it more when I was young to learn my English. So my older son Thomas, the one that plays hockey, he's really good in English because we lived in Colorado before. He was right there at that age to learn. But my two daughters who are younger, they were really young back then, so they're good, but they got to improve their English, which will open a lot of doors later down the road for them.
Mario, if you had to highlight some of the main tenets of your philosophy and approach and how that meshes with Andre, what would you say?
That's a really good question. Uh, it's we like to grind it out. We like to work. So that's why we spend a lot of time together. Uh, and like you mentioned, philosophy, we have to be on the same page in our foundation, which we are. And from there, we want to challenge ourselves in order to be better. So he challenged me, I challenge him, and we grow together. So which is great. But we love to be relentless. We love to be resilient. That's the way we are, and that's how we like our team to play. So there's a lot of things about how to build a culture, how to build that feel of belonging that we feel we think the same way. So that's why it becomes smooth days in days out to work together because there's no argument on that on the philosophy. It's really about how we're gonna present that, how we're gonna make sure that we're moving forward. It's more about how we're gonna develop that plan that we can have some bumps or challenges, but not about the philosophy itself. So that's why we spend the good time, our energy at the right place instead of at the wrong place. That's why I think we be we work well together. And if you look at our backgrounds, as the way we build our career, but also how we've been raised with our own families, there's a lot of links there that we can connect the dots very quickly and how we've been educated with the values of his family, with my family. So that's why we get along very well.
You talk about philosophy and culture and how you work together. And I'm going to bring it into the hockey world now. And you got to teach these guys your style and Coach Trinier's style of how to play the game. And you've had 4 days to teach these guys a new style. And usually you're dealing with 20 players, maybe 1 or 2 new guys. So you got 14 new players to the organization, plus a new head coach. How have you been able to instill your style of play and Coach Tournier's style of play in 4 days?
Yeah, it's one bite at a time, eh? So our guys been really good so far. To be honest with you, we as a coaching staff we arrive ready. Obviously, this is our job, and that's the easy part. But the players, they have in mind ready. They're ready to fight every day. They're ready to learn and to study every day. They do the extra mile. So it's been an outstanding 4 or 5 days so far. We just finished our practice today, and again, we made some huge improvement in our type of style and in our standards. So every day, the guys getting better and better. So I lift my hat to the players, but they do a great job. But we got to make it happen and really quickly, like you mentioned. So we cannot waste any time. But it's all about talking the same language and being straight to the points, keeping that simple.
Well, when we have our Coyote fans stopping out to Gila River tonight at their first look at an Andre Tournier team, what kind of style of hockey can they expect to see from his style of play? What are some of the buzzwords you're using, or what kind of play can we expect to see?
I mentioned it. That's a really good question. I mentioned a little bit earlier about the relentless. That's who we are. So there's no two sets of rule on that. You got to work your nuts off. Being relentless, resilient. We want to play a high-paced game where we're tough to play against. Where whatever the scenario, whatever the situation, you'll see a bunch of guys who will never quit, never say die, and we want to be the aggressor. We want to play, like I said, a high pace. We want to be aggressive out there in every zone. We don't like to sit back. We love to attack. We love to have the mentality of attacking, and we want to possess that puck. In order to possess that puck, yes, you got to play both sides of the puck. It's not about only playing in offense. It's about playing both sides of the puck. But we love to manage that puck in order to keep that puck having a time possession. So that's what fans can expect. To be honest with you, I know that that, and it's all with our culture, that brotherhood, that ensure that we all pushing together.
Awesome. And before you got on, we were talking a lot about what we can expect from tonight's preseason matchup. What are you, from a coaching perspective, looking to see or looking to gain from tonight's game against LA?
Absolutely. It's the first preseason game, so we're really focusing on us, guys, really focusing on what we've been preaching the last 4 days. And we want to make a step forward again tonight. Like I mentioned, we've been building our foundation since day one. It's exactly what we want to continue to do. So tonight is just another opportunity to get better in a game-like situation, which is going to be great. We're going to have good footage out of that. But the guys at some point, they love to practice. We want to practice like we play. But now it's time to play a good game tonight in order to improve ourselves as a staff, as a team, but about the cohesion. So tonight, that's what we expect: improving in our system, in our standards, in our fundamentals that we call. We want to get better at it. That's for sure.
All right, Mario, thank you so much. We know you have a really busy day in the first game, so thank you for taking some time out of your day to join us on the show.
Thanks, Mario.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day, and see you tonight.
We'll see you tonight.
Thank you.
See you tonight.
Awesome.
That was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, good to get to know a new member of the staff. Obviously, I think people have gotten a little bit of a sense of Andre Tourigny by this point because he's been in the news for a while around here. But there were rumors for a long time that Mario was going to join him. We all expected it, but it wasn't announced until very recently. So good to get a sense of one of the driving forces behind this coaching staff.
Yeah, and he's got a personality to him.
Yes, he
too.
does.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Yeah.
I hope we get to talk
I
to him
love
again.
a Quebec accent too.
Yeah,
There's
I know.
nothing like it.
Well, I will say he's good, he's knowledgeable, but most importantly, Coach Tournier has his right-hand man here. He can feel comfortable. He can walk into the coach's room and have right away he's got somebody on his side in his corner. And that really goes a long way. I mean, I'm excited, and he answered the questions the right way about the rest of the coaching staff. It is hard to meld those adult men first before you get to work with the players. So hopefully it translates, the excitement and energy they have in that room can translate into the locker room.
Yeah, and you referenced a story in there about his initial meeting, which I actually read about in the story that you wrote on Mario joining the team, which was, I thought, like a really great story. So if people want more, information on that meeting and what we were referring to there, you can read it in Craig's stories at gophnx.com, where you can have access to those stories if you are a member. So you can either sign up for the annual membership, and with that you get a free shirt as well. If you want to do month to month, you can try the first month for just 50 cents to give it a try. There's a lot of great content on there, and I know we always pump Craig's stories, but
I know
they're great, so there's a reason. Yep.
No, the truth is, if you want to find out what's going on inside Coyote hockey, you need to get a look at Craig's articles. But beyond Craig's articles, there is going to be more content at gophnx.com as the season progresses. Whether it's different videos, different interviews, it's not just Craig's written content. There will be a lot more for members to digest once the Coyotes start playing games,
including a heck of a preview that we have planned for the season.
Yep.
There you go.
Pretty detailed, and I'm not going to say any more than
that. Work.
All right. Well, before we move on to our last segment of the show, I just wanted to ask Petey a question. How did your bets go yesterday?
Deep sigh.
Deep
sigh right there.
It's hard, so I had to cleanse and clear first. The truth
Karen,
is,
I'm so proud of you.
We talked about how easy the app is to use, and unfortunately it might be a little too easy for me. Every game that would come on, and you know what? That's the other thing too we want to say about DraftKings. You don't have to bet the farm on every game. I put $5 bets on just to help me get interested in the game, and boy, edge of the seat action. Last night, my 2-game parlay with the Green Bay Packer game, I had Green Bay getting the first touchdown, which they did in their second possession. And I needed Aaron Rodgers to throw for 279 yards after 184 in the first half. I figured I'm going to get there. I just came up a little bit short in the second half. So it was heartbreaking.
How many yards did
he had 161 yards and I needed 179. So 18.
Oh.
So 2 9-yard
260.
passes.
261 yards.
261. What did I say? It was 261 to 279. And there was a play in the second half, and I don't want to talk too much football, but it was a 45-yard gain. Receiver has it in his hands, and he gets helmet-to-helmet hit.
Oh, the concussion. Yeah.
Yep, laying on the field. No 45-yard gain. No parlay for Petey.
But we hope the guy with the concussion's okay.
Yeah,
so.
We do. Yeah. And maybe you got your credited $25 back. Yeah.
I got my $25 back from DraftKings. I did.
So you're not down actual money.
No. Yeah, just down in pride.
Just practicing. We're just learning how to do it.
Exactly. It's only sports betting's only been around here for about a few weeks. So you can participate in all of that sort of action too. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app using code PHNX when you sign up, and then you can get your $150 in free bets. You can get your $25 credit for the same game parlays, and then you can be part of what we're talking about here. I want to wrap us up. We want to bring back a listener question segment. So if you have questions for us that you want us to answer, message in the member Discord, tweet at PHNX_Coyotes so we can get to your questions. We have just a couple today from some of our Discord members. A lot of it we talked about because we talked about players to watch during the preseason. Yeah, we've talked about a lot of what's been asked, but I just want to make sure that people hear what they ask. So we'll start with Strazi asks, what do you think the long-term plans are for a player like Schmaltz? What's the likelihood that he gets traded this season or next summer?
5 years left on that contract at a cap hit of 5.8. That's probably a tough move in this market, right?
Yeah, but it's similar things that we said about Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
If he has a great year, he's tradable.
Mm-hmm.
If Nick Schmaltz comes out and he plays that elite level that he is capable of on a consistent basis, that contract now becomes an attractive contract. He's just going to have to show that he can consistently play to a high level, which he hasn't been able to do here over the last few years. So would they like to trade him? I mean, I don't necessarily think he's part of the 4 year from now, parade around Van Buren Avenue with the cup. Maybe, because that contract that we say is difficult to trade now. 4 years from now, that's going to be a great contract if he's an elite first-line center. If
Right.
he's not, no.
And he'll get opportunity this year. You would expect at least
Yeah.
he'll get opportunity in minutes and situations that maybe he hasn't enjoyed in the past because of the makeup of the roster. So we'll see.
Well, something to keep an eye on. Marked Difference asked, has a rough cost been put together for upgrades to Veterans Memorial Coliseum? If so, how much? And is it still a viable option for the Coyotes moving forward?
Working on it.
Yeah, Craig and I hope to go tour the facility. I know there's something we had planned to do earlier. It's just so many things have come up. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be a big deal. And Craig will have all of those deals in an upcoming story. Pitch, right?
There it is. Hey, you put me under the gun now.
Yeah.
So
Get it ready.
under pressure.
Let's
here.
go. People are waiting.
All right. Well, those questions were from our members only Discord, which you can have access to if you sign up for a membership at gophnx.com. If you're watching us here on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes, and then you can follow everyone at PHNX_sports. We have Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, as I mentioned. Subscribe where you listen to podcasts as well. And we have some exciting stuff coming up for you this week. On Wednesday, ASU's head coach, Greg Powers, will be joining us here in studio.
Yes.
So Wednesday's edition of our show is going to be very ASU
Yep,
hockey
all things
oriented.
college hockey and
Yeah.
ASU on
3
Wednesday.
goalies in the same room.
That's right.
Oh
we are
my
going to have to talk
gosh.
It's going
about
to be
goaltending.
unbearable.
Yeah.
Very true. So we have that to look forward to this week, among some other things. And I mean, most importantly, there's a hockey game tonight. So
Yeah.
And Craig, before we go, because we were both attending tonight's tilt at Gila River Arena,
Tonight's tilt. Nice.
in the
Alliteration.
press box,
I like it. Yes.
do I have
Press
to
box
sit by
preview.
you? Is that
You
a
don't
thing?
have to
Another
sit by me. I
alliteration.
mean,
Is
it
that like a
would
signed
look
seating?
kind of awkward if you sat somewhere else.
I'm
but,
just
you know,
asking,
people might
because
ask questions.
You're
like,
so
wow, is
busy
there
working.
1 week in, there's or 3
You
weeks
are
in, there's
working,
already a
though.
rift.
You
Wow,
work.
What's going on there?
I'm probably not going to work
Big
as hard
egos.
as you tonight.
You know, somebody's
Just
not
asking.
managing that talent.
Assigned seating?
People will talk.
just pull up with your hot dog and your ketchup.
No, tell me the last game. Did I not come through the last game?
What do you mean last game?
She's talking about hot dogs. What did I do at the last game?
I don't even
The
remember.
rookie tournament.
I don't even remember.
I brought you popcorn and pretzels.
You did. Wait.
I brought you popcorn. and
Brought
pretzels.
me is an overstatement of what
Okay,
happened.
I did not bring them with me in the
Yes,
car. They
correct.
have them in the press area.
Yes.
I brought
He
you.
was kind enough to bring me a cup
Exactly.
of popcorn.
I know who butters
We
my
will-
bread, Craig.
I will
get it.
follow up with you both tomorrow on how the press box experience was for the two.
Let's just if I get in.
Right opposite
Craig's got a
ends.
he's got a press pass for how many years? I just hope I get in.
Oh my
Like, will they let me
God.
in?
You'll get in, buddy.
No.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see this. Listen.
Yeah.
Rather than watching camp practices,
Yeah.
camp practices get dull really fast. So let's see a game.
Yeah.
I do have a piece moving on that I'll publish on Barrett Hayton at some point on Tuesday as well. We talked a lot about his battle to make this roster this season and all that he's been through. So I'll have a story on that on the website on PHNX Sports, of course. GoPHNX.com. I can spit that out somehow. It didn't sound very
I
good,
know.
but
Wow.
That
we'll have
was
to work on that.
excellent. That was
But yeah,
excellent.
I do have a Barrett Hayton story coming tomorrow. Let me just lay it
All
down.
right.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we'll also have an audio only podcast going over last night's game. So stay tuned for that as well. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.